Hello everyone, welcome to, which one are we on, Grand Supreme News or GS News? Welcome to GS News. I am here with my son, Michael.
Hi.
Fun fact, one of the reasons I named him Michael was after the Archangel Michael. I told your brother that earlier. He's like, really? Whoa, you're really big. What happened? Okay, what am I? Okay, hold on. It's the... Bear with me, guys. Hold on. Which one? No. Where'd it go? Where'd the Daniel picture go?
I think it's the window captured too.
No, that's the one I just turned off. Uh-oh. Okay, I messed something up here. Sorry, guys. Just bear. Oh, is it one of these? No. Which one is it?
Scene 3, I think.
Darn it. I don't know.
Press scene 3.
No, it's not scene 3. I don't know. That's really weird. It like just literally disappeared. Okay, so anyway, let's make sure that we are online. Okay, we got 18 watching, 19. Make sure you go ahead and thumbs up the video. Bae, I don't know what happened, but the lion is gone.
Let me see.
This is what happens when you let me take over.
The lion's right there.
No. Is that the background?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the other background.
Daniel.
The Daniel background.
Oh, no. We're not doing the Daniel background. Give me a second.
Oh, I like that background. Rawr. That makes me think of that Carol Basket song. Okay.
And guys, I truly apologize. I wish I could be on this live, but I have to go to sleep right now. Wake up early in the morning. So God bless you all.
You don't gotta put it like... Oh, okay. All right. So, before we get into the video, Epic Adventures. Hey, Lewis family. Excited to read the book of Daniel. Your family is the best. Oh, thank you. And then somebody is laughing. Probably because I do not know how to work all of this. You think I would. Okay, so anyway, getting into this. So, I went over that. Okay. So, we are reading Daniel, the book of Daniel. This right here. Okay, you can't see it, but this is my Bible. It is the She Reads Truth Bible. Which one do you have?
I have like the teen Bible.
The
Teen
NIV.
Study Bible.
Yeah, he has the NIV Bible. But yeah, I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say? This is such an awful like intro. Oh, hopefully you guys like my shirt. Yeah, Tiger King. That thing. I gotta stop watching TikTok. My shirt. If you guys like it, it says Jesus is essential. Because right now, Jesus is essential. Amen?
Amen.
Okay, good. All right, so we're going to get into it because I'm like blabbering on and already, I don't know. Okay, so we're going to be reading chapter 3. So go ahead and get your Bible. Pull up, if you have your phone, you have the Bible app, or if you have like an iPad and you have the Bible app on there. Either way, pause this video if you have to. Get something to drink. Get your Bible so that way we can read together. We are going to start out with a prayer and we're going to do some reading. And Mikey, let's not get sidetracked. Every time me and him does like Bible study videos, like we'll be on the topic and then it's just like random question. And then we're like for hours, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but for hours talking about all sorts of different things. So yeah, so pause us if you have to. We will wait. Okay, that's as long as we're gonna wait. Haven't read Daniel in a while. I look forward to hearing what it says. Hi, Jessica. Oh, hi, Michael. It's Carly. Hi, Carly. Yeah, I know. I love Daniel. It's probably one of my favorite book is Romans. Daniel is probably number 2. So let's get into it. We're gonna be reading Nebuchadnezzar's gold statue. All right, King Nebuchadnezzar made a gold statue, 90 feet high and 9 feet wide. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to assemble the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the rulers of the provinces to attend dedication of the statue King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. You guys know we do not worship statues. We do not do any of those things. We worship God, okay? Not statues. Which actually, this is a really good, kind of a good thing to read, especially right now with everything that's happening and all these statues being torn down and whatnot. So the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the rulers of the provinces assembled for the dedication of the statue the king had set up. Then they stood before the statue Nebuchadnezzar had set up. A herald loudly proclaimed, "People of every nation and language, you are commanded. When you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, drum, and every kind of music, you are to fall face down and worship the gold statue that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. But whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire." Therefore, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, lyre, harp, and every kind of music, people of every nation and language fell down and worshipped the gold statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. The furnace of blazing fire. I love this part. Some Chaldeans took this occasion, and the music must fall down and worship the gold statue. Yes, my love?
I didn't know. When is it gonna be the last battle so evil and Satan will go away forever?
That's going to be, well, we still haven't hit that, but it can't come soon enough, put it that way. But it'll happen.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, go lay down. He's watching Superbook, and he was watching where the Archangel Michael and Satan were fighting. Okay, so where was I? Okay, there are some Jews you have appointed to manage the province of Babylon. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Abednego?
Mm-hmm.
These men have ignored you, the king. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you have set up. Then, in a furious rage, Nebuchadnezzar gave orders to bring in Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men were brought before the king. Nebuchadnezzar asked them, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, is it true that you don't serve my gods or worship the gold statue I have set up? Now, if you're ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, drum, and every kind of music, fall down and worship the statue I made. But if you don't worship it, you will immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. And who is the God who can rescue you from my power?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, "Nebuchadnezzar, we don't need to give you an answer to this question. If the God we serve exists, then he can rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire. He can rescue us from the power of you, the king. But even if he does not rescue us, we want you, as king, to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with rage, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He gave orders to heat the furnace 7 times more than was customary, and he commanded some of the best soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the furnace of blazing fire. So these men in their trousers, robes, head coverings, and other clothes were tied up and thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. First, the king's command was so urgent that the furnace was extremely hot. The raging flames killed those men who carried Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego up. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the furnace of blazing fire. This is delivered from the fire. Then King Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in alarm. He said to his adversaries, "Didn't we throw 3 men bound into the fire?" "Yes, of course, your majesty," they replied the king. He exclaimed, "Look, I see 4 men, not tied, walking around the fire unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." Nebuchadnezzar then approached the door of the furnace of blazing fire and called, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you servants of the Most High God, come out." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire. When the satraps, prefects, governors, and the king's advisors gathered around, they saw that the fire had no effect on the body of these men. Not a hair on their heads was singed. Their
Singed.
robes,
Singed.
singed, thank you. Their robes were unaffected, and there was no smell of the fire on them. Nebuchadnezzar exclaimed, "Praise the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." He sent his angel and rescued his servants who trusted in him. Guys, I just want to stop right here and let you know that the same God who delivered these men from King Nebuchadnezzar's wrath and, well, what he wanted to do to them still exists today. And if you're suffering from something or you're going through something, that same God who did for them will do for you. He will provide for you. You just have to have that trust. You have to have that love. Something you want to say, Mikey? Oh, I thought you had something you wanted to say. Okay. They violated the king's command and risked their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I issue a decree that anyone of any people, nation, or language who says anything offensive against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego will be torn limb from limb and his house made a garbage dump. For there is no other God who is able to deliver like this. Then the king rewarded Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Mikey, you're going to read chapter 4. Nebuchadnezzar's proclamation.
Nebuchadnezzar's dream of a tree. King Nebuchadnezzar, to the nations and people of every language who live in... Hold on. I need this so people can hear. Jeez. To the nations and peoples of every language who live in all the earth, may you prosper greatly. It is my pleasure to tell you about the miraculous signs and wonders that the Most High God has performed for me. How great are his signs, how mighty his wonders. His kingdom is an eternal kingdom. His dominion endures from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at home in my palace, contented and prosperous. I had a dream that made me afraid. As I was lying in bed, the images and visions that passed through my mind terrified me. So I commanded that all the wise men of Babylon be brought before me to interpret the dream for me. When the magicians, enchanters, astrologers, and diviners came, I told them the dream, but they did not interpret for me. I thought he never told him the dream.
No, that was somebody else. Yeah, it was Nebuchadnezzar.
Well, I say I told him the dream.
No. Well, I don't know. In here, yeah, it's saying, I told them the dream, but they could not make its interpretation known to me. And in here it says that he did. He told them the dreams.
Alright. Because what he told me that he didn't tell them the dreams because just so they could make anything up.
No, he did. I don't know. Yeah, and here it says, my word is final if you don't tell me the dream and its interpretation. I don't know, I have to look that in.
Alright. So, well. But they could not interpret it for me. Finally, Daniel came to my presence and I told him the dream. He is called Belshazzar, after the name of my God, and the spirit of holy gods is in him. I said, Belshazzar, chief of the magicians, I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and no mystery is too difficult for you. And no, here is my dream. Interpret it for me. These are the visions I saw while lying in bed. I looked, and there before me stood a tree in the middle of the land. Its height was enormous. The tree grew large and strong, and its top touched the sky. It was visible to the ends of the earth. Its leaves were beautiful, its fruit abundant, and on it was food for all. Under it The wild animals sought shelter, and the birds lived in its branches. From it every creature was fed. In the visions I saw while lying in bed, I looked, and there before me was a holy one, a messenger coming down from heaven. He called in a loud voice, cut down the tree and trim off its branches. Strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the animals flee from under it. Yeah, and the birds branch from its branches. But let the stump and its roots, bound with iron and bronze, remain in the ground in the grass of the field. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven, and let him live with the animals among the plants of the earth. Let his mind be changed from that of a man, and let him be given the mind of an animal, till 7 times pass by for him. The decision is announced by messengers. The holy ones declare the verdict, so that the living may know that the Most High is sovereign of all kingdoms on earth, and gives them to anyone he wishes, and sets over them the lowliest of people. This is the dream that I, King Nebuchadnezzar, had. Now, Belshazzar, tell me what it means, for none of the wise men in my kingdom can interpret for me, but you can, because the spirit of the holy gods is in you. Daniel interprets the dream. Then Daniel, also called Belshazzar, was greatly perplexed for a time, and his thoughts terrified him. So the king said, Belshazzar, do not let the dream or its meaning alarm you. Belshazzar answered, My lord, if only the dream applied to your enemies and its meaning to your adversaries. If he didn't think he was king, why does he call him my lord?
Back then, the way that they called people certain things was different things, but he wasn't talking about like Lord of Lords.
Okay. The tree you saw, which grew large and strong, with its top in the sky, visible to the whole earth, with beautiful leaves and abundant fruit, providing food for all, giving shelter to the wild animals, and having nesting places in its branches for the birds. Your Majesty, you are that tree. You have become great and strong. Your greatness has grown till it reaches the sky, and your dominion extends to distant parts of the earth. I'm confused. I thought the dream was about the statue.
It was.
But why is it now saying that it was a tree?
Oh, there was, okay. So there was a statue, there was also a tree. So the tree is like, basically this is going to be him going into the wilderness. This is what he's going to, it's going to end up going crazy. So it wasn't just the statue. Because he had other things with the dream.
And your dominion extends to the distant parts of the earth. Your Majesty saw a holy one, a messenger, coming down from heaven and saying, Cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump, bound with iron and bronze, in its grass of field, while its roots remain in the ground. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him live with the wild animals until 7 times pass by for him. This is the interpretation, Your Majesty, and this is the decree the Most High has issued against my lord the king. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge as the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and give them to anyone who wishes. So I'm saying 7 years? Mm-hmm. The command to leave the stump of the tree with its roots means that your kingdom will be restored to you when you acknowledge the heaven rules. Therefore, Your Majesty, be pleased to accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right, and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. It may be that then your prosperity will continue. The dream is...
No, go.
The dream is fulfilled. All this happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. 12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, Is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty? Even as the words were on lips, a voice came from heaven. This is what is decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth, and gives them to anyone he wishes. Immediately what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from his people and ate the grass like the ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird.
Okay, hold on. So, right there, I mean, Belshazzar is telling him, Daniel is telling him, you know, if you want my advice, I would stop making it about you and start making it about God, pretty much. Well, after 12 months, King Nebuchadnezzar, what he said is this not Babylon the Great that I have built to be a royal residence by my vast power and for my majestic glory? So he wasn't giving that recognition to God for what God had given to him, because a lot of times leaders and, you know, these people of these nations, they think it's because of them that their nation is flourished and that they have what they have. But we have to remember that God gives and takes away, and God gives for his own glory, not for our glory. He gives it for his glory. Now, because he didn't want to recognize that, and he was like, this is mine, this is what I have built, look at how great of a king I am, I've done this for all the people, and look at how everything is so nice, it's because of me, you know. But this was all about God, this was all because of God, but he didn't want to give recognition to God. So that's when he was sent to be like the animals in the wild. All right, I'll read this part. Nebuchadnezzar's praise. But at the end of those days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, looked up into heaven, and my sanity returned to me. Then I praised the Most High and honored and glorified him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are counted as nothing, and he does what he wants with the army of heaven and the inhabitants of the earth. There is no one who can block his hand or say to him, what have you done? At the time my sanity returned to me and my majesty and splendor returned to me for the glory of my kingdom, my advisors and nobles sought me out. I was reestablished over my kingdom, and even more greatness came to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and glorify the King of heavens, because all of his works are true and his ways are just.
So did he go to heaven then?
Oh, no, this is he's back in his where he was. He's back into his place. He's giving recognition, glorified to the King of the heavens, because all of his work is true and his ways are just. He is able to humble those who walk in pride. Belshazzar's feast.
I have to use the bathroom.
Okay, I'll wait for you.
I want to read it.
Huh?
I want to read it.
You want to read? Okay. All right. So David says, we just got done reading the scriptures as a family. That's amazing. I love that. It's good to read the Bible every day. Have the Holy Spirit. Yes, absolutely. It is, you know, we definitely need to read the Bible every day. And, you know, I know for me, like, if I don't read it, like, I'm constantly thinking about God and I'm constantly thinking about Jesus. And he's definitely put it on my mind lately, like, you need to read my scriptures. Plus, especially with, like, the way that this world is fallen. This world is in chaos right now. You know, you need to have some peace, some calm, some, you know, you need to have something that reminds your spirit, like, there is hope, you know, and his name is Jesus. That's the hope. So, you know, I think it's very important, especially in these days and times where everything is just like complete chaos, that we need to be opening up our Bibles more. We need to pay attention. We need to focus on spending more time with God than spending time with our TVs and with our internet and with our telephones and with all the technology that we have. And it's very important to also get yourself an actual Bible. Now there's, you know, a lot of people, they have like the phones and tablets, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with having the phones and the tablets, you know, to read the Bible. But I know for me, in my experience, I'm gonna share something with you guys. If I am on, let's say my tablet, if I'm on my tablet and I'm reading the Bible and I'm doing my studies, if I get some sort of notification, social media, or something that like gets my mind going, then I get so sidetracked. You know, it's kind of like this. Like, you go on Instagram and you're looking at the feed, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I wanted to see what was going on in this person's life. Then you go there, and then it's like, oh wait a minute, you know, there was I want to see what the most like interesting video is, and so forth. And your mind starts to travel, and then you're like, wait, what was I doing in the beginning? So, you know, if you are a very disciplined person, then I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. But for me, I have to have the Bible. And it's a way for me to put away from the screen and actually have that one-on-one time with God and letting him talk to my heart and tell me, you know, like, to interpret the Bible and the scriptures to me. T.E. Davis, the Book of Daniel is a complex work. It actually is about the entire run of the human species, anthropological revolutions, our advancements. The Book of Daniel is an amazing, powerful book. And I mean, think about it. In that time, there was statues. People were worshiping statues. They were worshiping, you know, the king, and you know, there was all these rules like, oh, you can only worship the king. You can't worship your God. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's all Nebuchadnezzar. And it's like, for me, if you're going to tell me to bow down, no, sorry. But the only person I bow down to is God. That's it. No in between. Nobody else. I don't care. You can do whatever, but I am not bowing down. I like holding the Bible and putting the phone and computer away. Yeah, like I said, unless you are a very, like, then, you know, yeah, use your phone, you know, if that's the only source that you have. But I highly suggest using Bible. Plus, what's so great, let's say, like, you know how our phones are always changing, even though we have the cloud, our phones are always changing, and a lot of the older people, you know, they don't really know how to use technology that much. So to have a physical Bible that you can highlight, and you can write in your Bible, and you can draw in your Bible, and, you know, you can take notes, put sticky notes, whatever. Then you can always go back and see what you learned from that verse, and maybe there's something else that God wanted to share with you, you know. And it's like, okay, so at, let's say, October of last year, I was reading this is what that meant, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, okay, so let me read this again, and then you get something else. And it's like, you have that something at your hands that you can't really get with your phone. You can't just like write and draw and highlight the important things and make notes of what's important. Simply me. People are running around acting very proud right now. Pride is a sin. They keep saying, look at me. I just made a new country in Seattle, and then God is going to humble them. I mean, I'm not gonna get into the whole Seattle things anymore, but you know, we know what scripture says, we know what God says. I pray for those people, you know. I pray that God definitely intervenes in their life. That's all that I'm gonna say. I pray that God changes their hearts, because we desperately need that. Lucia says, hi Jessica. Hi, God bless you and your family. Thank you for the Bible study. Of course. Thank you for coming on and sharing this time with me and my son. Hello, God bless everyone. God does not like the proud. Again, pride, it's a sin. T.E. Davis, our advancements which cause each and every time our estrangement from God. Paula says, D.C. has a protest right now. I mean, protesting is fine. The rioting, the looting, those things, that's not an American right. The protesting is an American right, but the other things is not an American right. But guys, right now, regardless if there's protesting, regardless if there's rioting, regardless if they want to become their own nation inside of this country, you know, just pray for them. Because right now, you know, we're not in a battle with human nature. We're in a battle spiritually with Satan and his demons, and those people are being attacked. Those people, you know, they have so much hate and so much anger and frustration, and, you know, they're lost. They're very lost, and they don't know what to do, and all they can use is their anger. But we need to pray for them. We need to pray that God intervenes in their lives, you know, in some way, blesses them in some way that changes their hearts. We absolutely need prayer. You know, we can put people down and just continue to put them down, But at the end of the day, that's not going to do anything. We just need to come together. We need to pray for those people. We need to pray that their hearts are changed. Protesters don't want to know God, not until something huge happens and it scares them. Regardless if they want to know God or not, continue praying. If somebody says, well, I don't want your prayers, or I don't need you to pray for me, or I don't believe in God, or whatever, this doesn't stop the fact that still pray for them. Because yay. Close the door, Mikey. Because that everybody needs God. They just don't realize they need God. I love this time in the Word. You and Lewis are so important to reach out. Thank you. We try. But remember, guys, you guys can do this too. Ooh, you okay?
Yeah.
You guys can do this too. Just make videos, or you could share the Word. Go to your neighbor, knock on the door, say, hey, with everything going on, I just wanted to ask, do you need somebody to pray for you? Do you need somebody to pray with? Is there a way that I can pray for you? If you have an extra Bible, go to your neighbor, leave it on their doorstep, knock on the door, and run away as fast as you can. Actually, no, you can't do that nowadays because you have that whole ring security feature thing. But there are ways to go out, let's share the gospel as much as we can. God bless you all. I can't watch much anymore. Getting deja vu daily or prophecies, visions. I'm a nobody. It's mentally tormenting. Bless you all. Praying for all without ceasing. If you need to talk to somebody or reach out to somebody, you can definitely email us. I understand. Trust me. I understand with everything. Okay. All right. So you are going to read. What were you on?
5.
Okay. Belshazzar's feast. Did we just? Oh, no, we didn't. Okay, go.
The writing on. The writing on the wall. King Belshazzar gave a great banquet for 1,000 of his nobles and drank wine with them. While Belshazzar was drinking his wine, he gave orders to bring in the gold and silver goblets that Nebuchadnezzar, his father, had taken from the temple in Jerusalem, so that the king and his nobles, his wives and his concubines, might drink from them. Concubines.
Concubines are you're married to a woman, and then you have other wives, but they're not the main wife. That's what a concubine is.
Alright.
So there are other wives, but they're not the main wife. They're
Confusing.
It is, but these aren't people of God.
Reading 5.
They had their own things.
Reading chapter 5. What chapter am I reading? I'm reading chapter 5.
Yeah, he's reading chapter 5, and we are on verse 3.
Yeah. So they brought in the gold goblets that had been taken from the temple of God in Jerusalem, and the king and his nobles, his wives and his concubines, drank from them. As they drank the wine, they praised the gods of gold and silver, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone.
It's amazing how many gods there are that people believe in.
Suddenly the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall, near the lampstand in the royal palace. The king watched the hand as it wrote. His face turned pale, and he was so frightened that his legs became weak and his knees were knocking. The king summoned the enchanters, astrologers, and diviners. Then he said to these wise men of Babylon, "Whoever reads this writing and tells me what it means will be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed around his neck, and he will be made the third highest ruler in the kingdom." Then all the king's wise men came in, but they could not read the writing or tell the king what it meant. So King Belshazzar became even more terrified, and his face grew more pale. His nobles were baffled. The queen, hearing the voices of the king and his nobles, came into the banquet hall. "May the king live forever," she said. "Don't be alarmed. Don't look so pale. There is a man in your kingdom who has the spirit of the holy gods in him. In the time of your father, he was found to have insight and intelligence and wisdom like that of the gods. Your father, King Nebuchadnezzar, appointed him chief of the magicians, enchanters, astrologers, and diviners. He did this because Daniel, whom the king called Belteshazzar. Is it different?
Belteshazzar.
Is it different now?
No,
I
okay.
thought it was Belshazzar.
Okay. Belshazzar is the king, but Belteshazzar is who the king, Nebuchadnezzar, named Daniel.
Wait, so who's Belshazzar again?
Belshazzar this is the king after Nebuchadnezzar. So there's Nebuchadnezzar. Now this is Belshazzar. He's the king that came in after Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh, this is so confusing. All they added is a te.
It can be, but...
He did it because Daniel, who the king called Belteshazzar, was found to have a keen mind and knowledge and understanding, and also the ability to interpret dreams, explain riddles, and solve difficult problems. Call for Daniel, and he will tell you what the writing means. So Daniel was brought before the king, and the king said to him, Are you Daniel, one of the exiles my father had? One of the exiles my father... Okay, one of the exiles my father, the king, brought from Judah. I have heard that the spirit of the God is in you, and that you have insight, intelligence, and outstanding wisdom. The wise men and enchanters were brought before me to read this writing and tell me what it means, but they could not explain it. Now I have heard that you are able to give interpretations and to solve difficult problems. If you can read this writing and tell me what it means, you will be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed on your neck, and you will be made the third highest ruler of the kingdom. Then Daniel answered the king, You may keep the gift for yourself and give your reward to someone else. Nevertheless, I will read the writing for the king and tell him what it means. Your Majesty, the Most High God gave your father Nebuchadnezzar sovereignty and greatness and glory and splendor. Because of the high position he gave him, all the nations and peoples of every language dreaded and feared him. Those the king wanted to put to death, he put to death. Those he wanted to spare, he spared. Those he wanted to promote, he promoted. And those he wanted to humble, he humbled. But when his heart became arrogant and hardened with pride, he was disposed from his royal throne and stripped from his glory. I'm gonna get water. I can't talk that much.
Alright, and then when you come back, I'll read.
I want to finish reading.
Huh?
I want to finish it.
You can finish if you want. The shirt is so tight on my neck. Alright, let's see. So we're just waiting on him, guys. I'll be back in a moment. So I want to know, for the people watching, what is your absolute favorite book in the Bible? Like one that just every time you read it, you learn more and more, and it just draws you in. And no, thank you though, baby. Also, if you guys can give this a thumbs up, we have 30 people watching. Just hit the thumbs up, please. That way this video can get put out there to more and more people. Waiting on you. Revelation. Revelation is good. Very good. 1st and 2nd Samuel.
That was good.
You good? Was it delicious?
Yes.
This thing is constant. How does he get this thing to stay?
Who, me?
No, your dad.
All right.
Okay, Mikey, let's get this moving here.
But when his heart became arrogant and hardened with pride, he was disposed from his royal throne and stripped of his glory. He was driven away from people and given the mind of an animal. He lived with the wild donkeys and ate grass like the ox. And his body was drenched with the dew of heaven until he acknowledged that the Most High God is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and sets over them anyone he wishes. But you, Belshazzar, his son, have not humbled yourself, though you knew all this. Instead, you have set yourself up against the Lord of heaven. You had the goblets from his temple brought to you and your nobles. Your wives and your concubines drank wine from them. You prayed to the god of silver and gold, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone, which cannot see or hear or understand. But you did not honor the God who holds in his hand your life and all your ways. Therefore he sent the hand that wrote the inscription. This is the inscription that was written. Mean tekel parson. Many tekel parson. Here's what these words mean. Many. God has numbered the day of your reign and brought it to an end. Tekel. You have been weighed on the scale and found wanting. Paris. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then at Belshazzar's command, Daniel was clothed in purple, a gold chain was placed around his neck, and he was proclaimed the third highest ruler on the kingdom. That very night, Belshazzar, king of the Babylonians, was slain, and Darius the Mede took over the kingdom at the age of 62.
Oh, he was old. Hey, let me see. All right. The plot against Daniel, chapter 6.
Oh, 1 to 7?
Huh?
Go on to 7?
Yeah, we're reading chapter 6.
Oh, we can stop at 6.
No, we're going to read chapter 6. All right. Darius decided to appoint 120 satraps over the kingdom, stationed throughout the realm, and over them 3 administrators, including Daniel. These satraps would be accountable to them so that the king would not be defrauded. Daniel distinguished himself above the administrators and satraps because he had an extraordinary spirit. So the king planned to set him over the whole realm. The administrators, the satraps, therefore, kept trying to find a charge against Daniel regarding the kingdom. But they could find no charge or corruption, for he was trustworthy and no negligence or corruption was found in him. Then these men said, "We will never find any charge against Daniel unless we find something against him concerning the law of his God." So now they go from trying to find out any kind of history about him that they could just tell the king, like, "Hey, did you know this about him? Or do you know that about him?" To now they don't know anything, so now they're going to try to set up the king so that a way they can kind of like deceive him and Daniel can worship God and pray to God, and that's where they're going to try to get him.
I have a question.
Yeah.
There's a question on here. It says, how did God send a message to King Belshazzar?
Mm-hmm.
He wrote on the wall with the fingers of a human hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's nasty.
No. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to... Hold on. Oh, okay, I missed out on it. Is it on? Okay. So yeah, so that's where we're going to now.
So these administrators.
Okay. So the administrators and satraps went together to the king and said to him, "May King Darius live forever." All the administrators of the kingdom, the prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an edict that for 30 days, anyone who petitions any god or man except you, the king, will be thrown into the lion's den. Therefore, your majesty, establish the edict and sign the document so that as the law of the Medes and Persians, it is irrevocable and cannot be changed. So King Darius signed the written edict. Now, King Darius and Daniel, King Darius, he loved Daniel. Like, they were really good friends. And so when they're doing this, like, here you go, sign this little paper, just saying that everybody has to worship you. Well, he wasn't really thinking about Daniel and like, wait a minute, so he wasn't thinking about that. So that's a horrible thing to do. Daniel in the lion's den. When Daniel learned that the document had been signed, he went into his house. The windows in its upstairs room opened toward Jerusalem. And 3 times a day he got down on his knees, prayed, and gave thanks to his God just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel petitioning and imploring his God. So they approached the king and asked about his indict. "Didn't you sign an indict for 30 days Any person who petitions any god or man except you, the king, will be thrown into the lion's den. The king answered, as the law of Medes and Persians, the order stands and is irrevocable. Then they replied to the king, Daniel, one of the Judean exiles, has ignored you. The king and the edict you signed for he prays 3 times a day. I wish I, had that, that will to want to, to pray 3 times a day. I really do. Well, I guess that's really not an excuse. I guess, yeah, I could do that. Then they replied to the king, Daniel, one of the... Okay, I already read that. As soon as the king heard this, he was very displeased. He set his mind on rescuing Daniel and made every effort until sundown to deliver him. Then these men went together to the king and said to him, You know, your majesty, that it is a law of the Medes and Persians that no indict or ordinance the king establishes can be changed. So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, May your God, whom you continually serve, rescue you. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. The king sealed it with his own signet ring and the signet rings of his nobles, so that nothing... What are you doing? No. So that nothing in regard to Daniel could be changed. Then the king went to his palace and spent the night fasting. No diversions were brought to him, and he could not sleep. Daniel released. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried up to the lion's den. When he reached the den, he cried out in anguish to Daniel. Daniel, servant of the living God, the king said, Has your God, whom you continually serve, be able to rescue you from the lions? Then Daniel spoke with the king. May the king live forever. My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths, and they haven't harmed me, for I was found innocent before him and also before you. Your majesty, I have not done harm. The king was overjoyed and gave orders to take Daniel out of the den. When Daniel was brought up from the den, he was found to be unharmed, for he trusted in his God. Again, that same God exists today. The king then gave his command, and those men who had maliciously accused Daniel were brought and thrown into the lion's den. They, their children, and their wives. They had not...
Why the children?
That's just how it was back then. With
He punishes everyone, even if they didn't do anything.
Well... But okay, put it this way. It's like with Moses, right? The king, he had his son. But okay, what should give comfort is that children are automatically found innocent in the eyes of God. So when they die, they go to God.
Yeah, but what if they weren't that young, though?
Huh?
What if they weren't that young, though?
What do you mean, weren't that young?
You said it because they're not their specific age.
Well, think of it this way, right? So Moses and Pharaoh had a son, right? And his son was taken from him. God took his son from him. That was like the final. So if his son had grown up, his heart most likely would have been with evil intentions. You get it? His heart would have been evil intentions. Therefore, he would have became the king after that and so forth. But again, children, they automatically go to be with God. Now, again, this is like the laws. This is their laws. This is how it was back then. The king is the one who ordered.
Was Daniel a teenager?
No. By this time, Daniel was a pretty old man.
Well, here it says Daniel was a teenager, a hostage to Babylon. When he had to decide would he stand up for what he believed in, Daniel was loyal to God and God saved him.
Yeah, he was with Nebuchadnezzar. When Nebuchadnezzar in the statue, he was like a teenager.
Oh.
But in this point, he's older. King Darius wrote to those of every people, nation, and language, and to live on the whole earth, May your prosperity abound. I issue a decree that in all my royal dominion, people must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is a living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed, and his dominion has no end. He rescues and delivers. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth, for he rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus, Persian. Man, he saw a lot of kings. He saw a lot of things.
Oh, I thought you kings.
Huh?
They said kings.
Yeah, he saw a lot of kings.
How? Is that old?
Yeah, there was, okay. So there was Darius, there was Belshazzar, there was Nebuchadnezzar, there was, Cyrus the Persian.
How old was he?
Well, he lived to be pretty old.
Like 100?
I don't know. I don't think it really says how long he lived for. Okay, so chapter 7, Daniel's vision of the 4 beasts. We are going to read that next When does your dad do these? On Sundays, right?
Yeah.
Saturday, yeah, Sundays. So we're going to do that on Sunday, and I will be joining. It is so hot in here with all these lights. Simply Me says, I can tell that Michael has been reading with you and your family. He's really good. Yes, he has. I'm very, very proud of him.
I'm good at reading.
Very much. Alex loves the Bible. He actually wants to be a police officer and a pastor.
And a gamer.
And a gamer. Well, that's because of you. That'll probably change. But he'll come to me and say, Mommy, can we read the Bible? I want to read the Bible. And it's amazing when you see how God works in your children's lives and just like gives you that strength to raise them into good, godly men. Yep, my baby. I pray throughout the day the lions didn't harm Daniel. God protected him. Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to read chapter 7 next week. Daniel, he saw a lot of kings. A whole lot. Anything you want to say? Any questions? No? Nothing you want to say to the people?
No.
You are a great family. Thank you. We would not be here without God. Put it that way. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It's extremely hot. We got lights, lots of lights. And they
I
like...
don't know why you have so many lights.
Huh?
I don't know why we have so many lights.
Because if not, it would be dark. And then that background,
And do we only need
you wouldn't be
like
able to
two?
see it. Huh?
Do we only need like 3 lights maybe?
They're not that strong. You'll barely see like the back. There's a lot that comes into it. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you guys for watching us and continuing to support the channel. By the way, we are going to be getting rid of GS News. There's a whole bunch of stuff with YouTube and they're kind of forcing us to kind of delete this channel. But we did open a new one, which is The Real GS News. Don't ask me why it's The Real. My husband, I don't know. I just do what I'm told here, apparently. But we have The Real GS News. You can find that on our social media, on our Twitter, and also in the community tab. If you go to the community tab on here, you'll see that there is a link. Let's read some more comments. Just keep talking to him as you live your day. That's when I hear him answering me back when I'm just talking about how hard it is to wash these dishes, and then I'm going to wash the floor next. I do the same thing. I mean, I do talk to God. I know at night I'll be sitting there and I'll be talking to God and I'm like, God, I'm sorry for this world and all the things that you have to see. But if you want my opinion, and then I give him my opinion, which I know he really doesn't want my opinion. And then I'm like, but if you also want my, opinion on this. So yeah, it's a blessing that you are studying the Bible with your son. I try. What's amazing is that me and my dad, we used to do these when I was younger. That was my favorite time with him. My dad, he had a lot of things that he did, but one of the things that I absolutely am thankful for and that I absolutely loved is when I was a little girl and me and my dad would talk about the end times. We would talk about the Bible. We would talk about God, so that was throughout my whole life. And he became a Christian at the age of 30 and his parents were actually atheist. Well, his mother, she was Indian, so she kind of believed in like animals and when you died you turn into an animal and all this craziness. But that is just one thing that I absolutely loved. Isn't that something you said that you like? It's our time together when we talk about God.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I see myself in him. Obviously I'm a girl and he's a boy, but I see my a little bit of myself in him when we do these. And hopefully it's something that you'll pass down to your children and talk to them. That's when I suddenly hear God whispering to my heart. I think God likes homemade prayers. Absolutely. I had to tell my son because he loves saying the Lord's Prayer, and my younger son, and I had to tell him like, Alex, it's okay. Sometimes, you can say just a normal prayer and just ask God for what you want. You don't always have to say the Lord's Prayer every time. But it's so cute. Thank you for the Bible study. God bless you. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, guys. So I'm going to stop talking and stop with all this. I don't know why I recorded it. Was I supposed to record it? Sorry, guys. My mind wanders a lot. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for joining with my son. Next Sunday, we'll be doing chapter 7. My advice is to go through, we're going to read 3 chapters. So how many chapters is there in Daniel? Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you guys
For sure there's
want to read,
13.
is 13?
I think. I'm near 13.
Hold on, babe. Well, you can finish. Actually, no, it's not 13, but you guys can finish the rest, and then on Sunday you can join us. And yeah, so thank you guys. We love you. Make sure you subscribe to the other channel. God bless. Good night. Say your prayers. Don't let the bed bugs bite.
You don't even have to do that. That's not what they said.
I'm sorry. I'm not babe. I don't do this. He does. I shouldn't say that. You don't think I should say
Hey.
that?
Thank you guys for watching.
This video.
Peace or something.
No, this video.
I'm so confused right now.
Thank you guys for watching.
You want to say it? You want to come here and say it? Why? I mean, I kind of think you want to. I kind of feel like you do.
I don't.
Okay. Jeepers. I know. Hold on. All right, Mikey, say goodbye.
Bye.
I mean, thank you for watching. Say something more, Mikey.
Thanks for watching this live stream / video if it is gonna be a video. Yeah. I don't know.
We'll see you guys next week.